Just scratching on my whiskers. And I appreciate all the kind comments that I've had about our show. I'm not an actor, so I don't try to be one on TV. I'm a duck hunter, and I love the Lord God Almighty, and I'm going to talk about those subjects. Now just think about it. Where can you go in the state of Oregon and get a first-rate duck call seminar and a little light sermon all in the same place? Look, I go through the airport, you got to realize, looking like I do, that's quite an accomplishment. Of course, I was running. I don't need this phone charger all the time. I don't make phone chargers, just duck call. I'm running through the airport today. You know, the Lord was with us. I'm telling you, they got on the intercom, and Missy said, just leave me, because she had to get her bags. And she said, you got to be there and speak. So I did. I left, and I got there, and they were like, well, this is it. You're the last one. I said, well, my wife is behind me. And they said, well, it's too late. Well, I get on there, and they said, Captain came on, and he's like, look, we're going to have a 5-minute delay because we hit a bird from Salt Lake City to Dallas. So I took that as a good sign. The bird gave his life so my wife could come out here today. See somebody like me or my family, I mean, they break the wands out quick. Because most people, when they view me, they either recognize me on TV or they think I'm homeless or a criminal. When I'm running through the airport, as I go by people, they're grasping their children. I'm used to it. And every once in a while, I'll see somebody that recognizes me, and it makes me, puts a smile on my face, not that they can see it. Because a lot of you have said that, smile. Look, I'm smiling, you just can't tell it from here. But every once in a while, somebody will say, hey, we see you on TV, and we'll sign autographs, so it's nice. But I remember I was having a bad day, and been winded, and generally, treated like a criminal. And it's okay, because I realize, they're just doing their job. But I had a little boy come up, and he said, look, can I have your autograph? And I was thinking, man, this is all right. I appreciate it. A little boy knows how to bring some joy, a bearded guy. So as I started signing, he said, well, I got a question. He said, how much does Geico pay y'all? I'm not a caveman. So I learned a valuable lesson. The book of Romans is right. Never think of yourself more highly than you are. And that was a very humbling experience. A lot of people say, well, what's up with the beard? I mean, look, every duck season, my dad trained us. He said, look, the greatest thing you can do from a camouflage standpoint is to let your beard grow. We get our black face paint, and we put it on our face, but the beard, look, it looks like coon-tail moss. It's way more important when duck hunting to be hidden than call break. It's way more important. So that's what we did every year. Then we started filming our duck hunts, and once we became known, we just kind of left the beard and went with it. But you got to remember, my dad, he taught us that as a kid. He was like, look, God made you a male for hair to grow out your face. Now, Mr. Gillette and Mr. Schick, in a marketing ploy, convinced men that in order to be civilized and sophisticated, you needed to shave that off. Well, guess what? They became multi-billionaires. So, they didn't get any money from me. It's growing there. God made me like that, so we go with it. Now look, he also said God made females not to have hair grow out of their face. But we were in South Arkansas doing a seminar, and look, he had to admit that. He made most women not to have hair on their face. And that's okay. It's great camouflage. I want to give you a quote from William Shakespeare, because we live in a sophisticated, civilized world. But William Shakespeare said that he that hath a beard is more than a youth, and he that hath no beard is less than a man. Hey, William Shakespeare said it. I can don't get mad at me. So I'm just saying, maybe, we're not getting as sophisticated and civilized as we thought. Look, if you want to scrape it off this pipe with me, I just thought I'd give you a little explanation on why I do what I did. Now, I'm a duck call builder. What I do as a job, I've got to mark the fruit. Every time Willie says, boy, you're not doing anything in here, I'll show it in my hand. That's from pressing them together with my hand. That's a blood blister that stays with me 365 days a year, but it's really red now. You can see I've been dealing with it. But this is good, clean fun. That's what I call it. I'm going to give you a crash course on how to operate these things. Look, a mallard duck, she does a feed call, and she'll do a greeting call or a hail call. She'll go. Now that's all she does. You say, well, what are the rest of these calls? They're either other ducks or different tones. Like this is a Mach 3. It's the same scenario, just raspier. Because no two mallard hens sound alike. So there's a little wiggle room there. She'll do the quack. It's real raspy, but you hear them out there doing that. And then she'll do the greeting call. Now look, when I'm in the woods or in a field, and we do that, the judges on whether that's a duck or not, our judges have wings. If they stop their wing beat, we call that lock up, and they turn. The judge said, that's a duck. Now look, if you go to the World Championship duck calling contest, here's what you're going to hear. The guy's going to step up. It's in Stuttgart every year, Stuttgart, Arkansas. They're going to step up there. And they'll go. And you say, now what is that? They call it machine gun. It's a feed call that sounds like thousands of ducks, according to them. I've never heard a duck do that. I've never heard thousands of ducks do that. Then they'll go. The next guy will come up. He'll grab his call. He'll go. This goes on all day. And whoever can do that the loudest and highest, they crown the greatest duck caller in the world. Here's the problem I have with that. The problem is a real live duck could not win the contest. I mean, you get over there doing this, last place. So people say, well, that's Arkansas style. Look, I know this. Ducks do not change styles every time they cross the state line. They sound the same way they do in Canada, all the way down to the coast. They sound like ducks. So what I recommend is you got to realize, do you want to put ducks in a pot, or do you want to demonstrate air control? Power. Because some people say, oh, if you blow that call. I mean, the only time I do that is when I'm in a group of people saying, don't ever do that if you want to shoot ducks. Anybody that's hunting a refuge, you'll see them out there. Them ducks are coming. They want to come there to eat. And then the guy gets on the call. Here you go. And you still start what we call bouncing. You're scaring them off. You're doing something that's not natural. So don't do that. The best way to get ducks in your pot is to sound like them. Now look, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Duck calling is not near as important as a lot of other things when it comes to duck hunting. We've already mentioned one. If you're not here, don't kill them. It's not natural. Ducks are wild. They see 4 white faces in a box looking at them with guns waving around. They're not coming in there. They're wild. You say, oh yeah, well, I'm a great duck caller. calls. Doesn't matter. If you're blowing calls that are not the species you're after, and you don't have the decoys represented, that kind of thing. Now look, you see all these calls? Here's a teal. Green wing or blue wing. You say, well, that sure don't sound like much. That's what they sound like. When you do that during teal season, do y'all have teal season here in Oregon?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. When you do that, the next thing you're going to hear is, if there's any ducks in the area, so take my advice, wait till it's legal shooting hours before you do that. You don't put yourself in a temptation. Wait till it's legal shooting hours. Then you have another dilemma. Once they come in there right, it's right at legal shooting hours where you can't see. A lot of people, especially I've noticed on the West Coast, they say, well, look, you need to flush the birds because it's unsportsmanlike. Shooting them on the water. Now look, there's a rule in Louisiana we go by. Whether they were shot, sitting or flying. There's no difference. Let me tell you something. There's enough law when it comes to duck hunting and waterfowl. They got them covered. Don't put any more upon yourself. Look, that's the teal. You've got, y'all got whistles here?
Yes.
All right, look. We made a whistle. My dad made this out of the invention of this call. Came from a tiny tin horn set on Christmas Day one time. A little kid had gotten this, and my dad heard him blowing it, and he said, that sounds like a teal. It would be a teal. Green-winged teal. He took the little whistle, it didn't have his bell on. He went up to the shop, he come back an hour later, and he said, look, I got 3 ducks in one call. That's where it came from. This is probably the most copied call in the world. Now everybody has it. They call it a 6-in-1 whistle, but the reason I told you where it came from, because only the person who invented it would know where it came from. It came out of a little horn set. That's where it came from. Now, it's got the widget. 3 notes, second one goes up. Now, it also has a pintail. You've already heard the deal. You can stick your finger or thumb in it, and listen to me carefully. Flutter your uvula. You say, do what? Look, when you go home tonight, you find your mirror, you open your mouth, and say, oh, and look back in the back of your mouth, and there's a piece of meat hanging there. Now look, that's a uvula. Now not everybody's got it. Alright? You don't have to have them to live and exist. But a lot of you have probably wondered why that's there. Now look, if you blow air while you have your finger over this hole, you got heavy machinery backing up. If I flutter my uvula, I'm going to go, you got to pick that. So now you have figured out, you've come here tonight in the great state of Oregon and found out one of life's mysteries. It has been revealed. You now know why you have a uvula. Because that's the only thing I know it's good for. No uvula, no pintail. So we got that. We got the teal. Now this will also do a drake, mallard drake. Now this green thing I got here is a little better. We put it into a house. And what I'm doing is because a lot of people can't understand how to blow a hen call. So what we do is we sell them a drake call because they're scaring off all the ducks when they try to blow a hen call. There's some people just don't have it. Alright? But anybody can say ah, and especially if he has a low tone. What you do is you take this call and you go, ah, stick to your lips. Ah. And then I'm going to raise my fingers. This call got nicknamed the green stick of death. And here's why. Because the ducks were trying to come into people's hole and they were flaring them off with their hen call. So when they got the drake call, they quit scaring the ducks. And all they did was, all I'm doing is saying off, so raising my finger. Now if you're a high-pitched fellow, if you're a tenor, you go, in Louisiana, but if you have a high voice, you either got to get you a hen call or wait for your voice to change. Get the now the last one I'm going to demonstrate for you is a wood duck. And look, the reason I waited till last, because a lot of people, wrongly so, say that you can't call wood ducks. I'm going to tell you that's a lie. Here's why I'm saying it's a lie. Every year, on average, I shoot over 200 decoying wood ducks. So when people say, well, you can't call wood ducks, and I think, well, I know of about 200 a year that didn't get the memo on that. All right? Here's why people claim you can't call wood ducks. They'll buy a wood duck call, and it sounds just like that. And if they have wood duck decoys or if they don't, that's not the point. But I'm telling you, if you want to call them in, you got to have wood duck decoys, and you got to have them moving, because the wood duck's looking before he's listening. Mallards are listening. Wood ducks are looking. They see ripples on the water, and they see wood duck decoys, and then you hit them with a call. But here's why people don't realize you can't call them. They'll see a wood duck, and they'll go. Now that's a wood duck sound when he comes flying by. Here's the problem. Wood ducks only do that when they're flying. So if you're sitting over there with wood duck decoys, you got to move, and you pick up your call and you go. You know what those wood ducks are thinking when they fly by? Idiots! They only do that when they're flying. People, I got a special wood duck call, and they'll let out a shotgun shell hole or something. And they'll go, you're looking like an idiot. It's not going to work. You got to blow sitting sounds. That's what's natural. Here's a few. That's what a wood duck does on the water. He'll do that. He'll go. He'll go. There's a bunch of them fighting or playing on the water, they'll go. So when I see wood ducks, look, I shake the water. Get out, wood ducks. We get out. We're here. They don't see us. They see a wood duck decoy slops around. We'll go. Yeah. The judges said, hey, there's some wood ducks there. There's a party going on. Here they come. Boom, boom, bow, bow, boom, bow, boom. They didn't get the memo. I'll tell you this. They'll swim to you faster than they'll fly to you. When I hear one over the water going, I'll answer him. I'll go. He'll go. I'll look up. Here he comes. Swimming on the water. Now we're back to the same dilemma we have with the teeth. Now, to me, look. If I can't kill, we can kill 3 of Louisiana. Kill 3. I have convinced this wood duck that I am a wood duck. And I'm having a conversation with him. That's what gets me fired up. Alright? You say, well, you're going to be a sportsman? No. I'm going to have a conversation, and I'm going to put him in a pot. By dog, and we're going to eat him. That's called good, clean, God-sanctioned fun, which is what this is. And you say, you make and sell duck calls, and you think they're about 7th or 8th as of importance? I do. I'm being honest with you. Look, if you're in a spot where there's no ducks, guess what? It doesn't matter what call you use. I have people on a weekly basis call down there and say, look, I need a call that'll get ducks from light and wide. I got a spot out in my field. There's 200 yards out there, and every duck lights out there. They said, what call do you have for that? I said, look, you need to forget the call. You need to move your blind 200 yards out the field. You want to kill them? That's the deal. All duck calls do is you're trying to create an atmosphere for them to do what they naturally want to do. They do 3 things. They sleep, they rest, and they eat. You get in a place that they naturally want to go, and you get here, and you get your decoys out there. You learn the sounds that they make. All that came from my head. I didn't read a manual about it. I have duck sounds in my head. I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and I'll think, that's a wood duck. Sit on the water. So I try to make a call that be an accent. It's good, clean, fun. Now look, if you have an experience hunting, you say, well, where did this hunting start? Now I'm going to read you something. Don't get nervous. I know I look like a... And look, I've offered up an offer everywhere I've gone, all over the United States and in a few foreign countries. I was like, listen to me. If you have a better idea on what I'm fixing to lay on, I'm offering you. And I've always offered that, so I'll offer to you. But in Genesis 9, we see the birthplace of hunting. You say, hey, you know, well, it was right after Noah and the ark, which, by the way, and we may have some people in there say, well, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if I believe that there's a God. You know, where's he at? I mean, have you ever seen him? I'm just not sure about it. Well, look, before I hear what you have to say, I'm going to have to hear your explanation on how we got on the earth. You follow? I believe God made it. A lot of people say, well, I don't. I say, well, what do you believe? And I've had people say, well, look, I've got an idea. I think at one time we were all fish. And one day, we jumped out of the pond and grew a tail and started running around on the bank. Then our tail fell off, and we kept growing, and we looked up, and lo and behold, we were here. I'm like, really? You want me to believe that we're frying up and eating what we used to be? Huh? Now, if you want to go down that road, I ain't going down that road. I just say that I'm not going down that road. Genesis 9, after the flood, you say, well, here's another mystery of the world. You know that some of our archaeologists have found fish fossils in some of the highest mountains and ranges in the world. You know what they call that? A mystery. Well, how did they get up there? Fly? It seems like to me if you found fish fossils in some of the highest mountainous regions, at one time maybe there was a flood. And Genesis 9, Genesis 8 discusses that flood. Now look, after the flood, God blessed Noah and his son. He said, listen to me. The fear and dread of you will fall upon all the beasts of the earth. Now think about what I just said. The fear and dread of you, of humans, will fall upon the beasts of the earth. He put a group of animals there. The beasts, what we would say deer, hogs. They're now going to fear and dread humans. Alright? The birds of the air. All of a sudden, the birds of the air are going to fear you and dread you. So you're getting the impression, well, up to this time, there was no fear and dread. Humans and animals, you know, cartoons, Disney World, oh, we're all hand in hand on the ark, which makes sense. But now they're going to fear you and they're going to dread you. All the creatures that move along the ground, they're going to fear you and dread you. And upon all the fish of the sea. Listen. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves will be food for you. This is God talking. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. So up until this time, and by the way, if you want to find out history, geography, astronomy, biology, a few more ologies. You read the first 11 chapters of Genesis, and it's all there. Isn't that something? We'll tell our kids that we're sending them to school to learn geology and geography and biology, and then we'll send them to church to learn Bible stories. I think it should be the other way around. They learn in school. That's fine. But I teach my kids their heritage, their geography, their biology. I got first chapter, 11 chapters in Genesis. You know where you came from? God knitted you together in your mother's womb. That's how you got here. You didn't decide to be here. You know, you hear this? Bon Jovi, he sang a song a couple years ago. It went like this. It's my life. It's my life. Y'all didn't know how to sing, did you? It's now or never. I don't want to live forever. I found myself singing out my band. I thought, it's my life. No, it's not. None of us decided to be here. You just looked up and you were granted life. It was given to you. It's now or never. You know, Bon Jovi obviously didn't understand what the word hope meant. And I ain't hating on Bon Jovi. I'm just saying you got it wrong here. I don't want to live forever. Well, I'm like, guess what? I'm getting off that train. Because if there's a way to live forever, I'm in on that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Oh, it's my life. I don't want to live forever. Okay, bye. I do. Look, you say, well, I don't understand your point on Genesis 9. So let me break it down. This would be a redneck translation. God said, anything that walks, crawls, flies, or swims is going to fear you and dread you, but you can kill it and grill it. It will be food for you. That's what he says. Look at that. Now look, Peter was wrestling with that idea. You say, Peter, people say, well, that's in the Old Testament. I'm just telling you where hunting began. That's where it started. When I walk in the woods, guess what critters do when they see me? They get out of my way. They're scared. They're wild. That's what hunting is. It wasn't my idea. People say, well, I just can't believe you'll shoot a deer and eat it. I'm like, well, Peter struggled with that same thing in Acts chapter 10. He was struggling, trying to do what God wanted him to do, living in a world with humans and animals in it. And so God gave him a vision. And he fell into a trance and he was hungry. This is Acts 10. I'm just quoting it along. He saw this sheep from heaven and he saw all these four-footed animals and these birds and these things that crawl around on the ground and these fish that swim. And God told Peter, Peter, arise, kill, and eat. So when people tell me, well, I just can't believe you do it, I say, you know what? It was God's idea. It wasn't mine. People were gatherers up until the flood. Now, if you want to be a gatherer, be a gatherer. Plant you a garden. I like a good garden meal. That's fine. But if you want to be a hunter, it's sanctioned by God also. And if you're a gatherer and a hunter, hey, you're enjoying all the things in life. Because that's all there is. At some point, you got to eat something. And in order for us to live, something has to die. That head of lettuce out there, they just ripped his head off, right off the ground. So I was good about, well, it was a head of lettuce. Look, my point is, God designed a food chain. God designed it. And we're at the top of it. I like that. It's his idea. We didn't invent honey. They run from us and we try to catch them. Now look, with that, we do more to try to help their habitat and the environment. And I take care of them. And it's not just about killing them. And I take my family hunting and my kids hunting. And I realize, look, it's this. It's God, people, ducks. In that order. That's my heart. It's faith, family, and family. In that order. That's how I roll. So, you say, well, what about your story? Look, here's my story. I saw God in the outdoors. You said, oh, well, what do he look like? Well, as a young child, when I went hunting, I looked around and you know what I started seeing? Design. Things that couldn't be accident. You're telling me we're the right distance from the sun. We have this magnetic shield. We're floating on nothing. You know, with the ability to breathe oxygen and people being born on a planet that sustains life. And you start looking around, we got watermelon vines coming out of the ground. A little seed will go in there, and here comes this vine. Where's it coming from? I tell you, you crack open that seed and look at it, you ain't going to see a green vine. Where's it coming from? Oh, well, people say, well, that's Mother Nature. But, well, guess what? I spent my whole life in the woods. I've never run up on anybody out there named Mother Nature. You say, well, you don't like Mother Nature? What we call in the world Mother Nature I call Father God the divine nature. It's a design. Look, it would be equal to you trying to convince somebody that your house just cropped up all of a sudden. You say, whoa, what do you mean? So, well, I didn't see anybody build it. You didn't see anybody build it. What are you talking about? Well, I wasn't there when they built it, so how do I know it just didn't crop up? Because it has a design to it. We know humans built it. And it's the same thing about the earth. Do you realize how much faith you're going to have if you deny the evidence that is surrounding you? I'll give you one example. You take the little honeybee. Here's the honeybee. The only food it wants full, right? The woods, honey. Wild honey, I love it. They build their hive. Every little honeycomb that holds the honey, because we got lightweight honeycomb holding heavy honey. So you know what the honeybee did? He built all his little shapes in hexagon shapes. Now, how did the honeybee know that the strongest shape to hold anything in the world is the hexagon shape? Did he just get lucky? Do you think they got together and said, look, 8 sides, boys? You said, well, I just believe he evolved today. Well, he wouldn't have evolved, because the first time he tried it with 2 sides, it crashed and killed them all. It's called evidence. Look, why do ducks fly south every winter? Seems like after a while they'd get the memo that that's not a good idea. They're dying by the thousands. If they just stay in Canada, guess what? They live on them. Why do they come south every winter? Just for them. Look, scientists have studied. They've let out birds, they've let them out in Brazil. Let's see where they go. They blindfold them. You know what they do every year? They migrate. You drop them out of a plane, put a blindfold on them, guess what? They take off and migrate. It's right here. It's called the evidence of God. Look, I looked around and I saw this design and I said, you know what that demands? Design demands a designer. Father God. Now I want to read you something, what happens when that gets out of whack. Now, I don't want to scare anybody, but I don't want you to think this is my idea. Listen to this. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, not Mother Nature, His divine nature, have been clearly seen, so that all men are without excuse. You say, what's the redneck translation? Any idiot ought to be able to walk outside and look around and say, you know what? There's something alive, a lot bigger than me, creating this stuff. Look, you look at the stars. You know the biggest star we've seen with our telescope is called Canis Majoris. Let me tell you how big it is. If you were comparing it to the Earth, Canis Majoris is so big, if the Earth was a golf ball, it would take enough golf balls to fill up the state of Texas 2 feet deep with golf balls to equal the size of the greatest star we've seen. Now, do you think that just cropped up out of nowhere? Next time you go through Texas, if you're ever there, I want you to look across that stage. Let me tell you, it's big. It will take you all day and all night just to drive across it. I don't mean going left or right, north, south, east, or west. 2 deep worth of Earth? Are you kidding me? That's so unbelievable that your mind couldn't even comprehend it. Are you going, well, that just happened? Oh, yeah, 2 clouds, they collided, and all of a sudden the Earth got here, and I'm standing up looking around. Oh, really? Really? Let me tell you something. We can see from what has been made, there is a God. You know what happens when this gets out of whack? Watch. Listen to this. They exchanged the truth of God, this is Romans 1:25, for a lie, and worship and serve created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Does that sound familiar? You've got 2 options on this earth. You were granted life. You were given life. It was given to you. It's not yours. It was given as a gift. You can either serve and worship created things, Or you can look around and say, created things shows me a creator and serve me. I'm going with the creator. You know what that teaches me? That teaches me that humans are not animals. You have humans, then you have animals. You say, what happens when that gets out of whack? Listen, for although they know God, people neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. Now listen, but they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. There are people on this planet who bow down and worship animals. Look, I want to give you a principle. It's God in importance. It's humans. It's then animals. That doesn't mean we're cruel and we torture animals. We love animals. They're God's creation. That also means during hunting season, we're not going to feel bad about putting it in a pot and have people get around it and pray and thank God and sustain life. It's God's sanction. You know what that also tells me? Trees do not need hugs. They're trees. Alright? The most important thing at a campfire are the people around it. Not the screams and cries of the wood as it crackles and pops. And you laugh, but there are people who believe that. So you know what happens when you get this out of whack? When you put trees or you put animals in front of God or humans, you know what happens? Therefore, this Romans 1, God gave them over in the sinful desires of the heart to sex that's not right, sexual impurity, for the degrading of their bodies one with another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worship and serve created things rather than the Creator. You see what happens? That's where immorality, things that are not moral, not right, where it comes from. You turn your back on God and you become God. You get those things out of whack, and then you know what you do? Whatever you want to do. And you say, well, how does that work out for us? Well, God made us. He made this earth so we can see his design, but he also gave us a choice. You know, that's what gets me. We let these worldly groups come up with these ideas. And people say, well, I'm pro-choice. I'm like, well, yeah. I am too. You know where that came from? God gave you the ability to choose. That rational decision that you make of right or wrong, where did that come from? God gave it. You know what I tell people? Make wise decisions. Make wise decisions. You say, does this sound familiar? I just read you Romans 1, capital C. I'll read something. This is our Declaration of Independence. You're in America. I'll tell you a few other things. We hold these truths to be self-evident, this is Thomas Jefferson, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their capital C Creator. Same one I was just speaking at in Romans 1. With certain unalienable rights, that among these are life. Get right to life. That's why we're pro-life. That's why we choose life. Because God is life. Liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I've already told you what makes me happy on this earth. I know there's a God, I know he made me, and I want to represent him. What brings me happiness is convincing ducks that my fake ducks are real. And when they come in close, look, I like the decapitation of flying fowls. That gets me really excited. You say, why? Because I got no pellets below the neck. When I put it in a pot, it's just going to be all meat, and I don't have to worry about the deep. That makes me happy. You see? And it's sanctioned by God. Thomas Jefferson wrote this. You think he was a believer? Well, look, not only have I seen God now, folks, look, I saw God in this Bible right here. Now, a lot of people think this is a rule book. Not true. A lot of people think this is a fairy tale. Now, what I think it is a weapon of mass instruction. Weapon of mass instruction. And a love letter from God Almighty to human beings. Look, it says three things. Genesis to Malachi. The Lord said, well, look how big it is. I can never understand it. Genesis to Malachi says Jesus Christ is coming to earth. You just got that. You just got the point. Matthew through John says this is what happened while Jesus was on the earth. You just got that. Acts to the Revelation says He's coming back to the earth. Well, boy, you just learned now. Look, you learned the whole Bible in 10 seconds. You said, well, who is this Jesus? Well, when we try to think of God, our mind goes blank. We've never seen God. Now we see His evidence. Alright? Well, look, 2012 years ago, God got some skin. He became a human being. Now look, I've already given you a pretty strong case that if you don't believe in God, you're going to have to close your eyes to this creation and life out here. You're now going to have to start destroying all clocks. Because we count time by Jesus Christ. Now, do you think that's just a coincidence? He must have done something. And he's the point of this book that when I'm trying to figure out how 41 men over the span of 4,000 years could write a book. And it would all make sense to us in 2012. Do you think that's just a coincidence? You know why it makes sense? Because Jesus Christ came to earth. He was God in a human body. He lived a perfect life. Every decision that He made was right. Remember I said choose life and choose the right decision? He never messed up. Because when we make poor choices, that's what separates us from God. God didn't give you the ability to choose so He could punish you. He gave you the ability to choose so that you would choose right. But in that, we chose wrong. All of us. All of us. So instead of punishing us, He says, you know what? It's a love story. He sends us Jesus to live a perfect life. And He is executed on the cross. Because God is 100% just and fair. So when He put on your conscience not to do wrong and to do evil, and you did, there had to be some justice there. So He sent His Son to die the death that we deserve for making bad choices. Y'all made bad choices, right? I have too. I'm flawed. I've made my mistakes. And that's what we call grace. God's riches at Christ's expense. Now, no matter what you've heard in church field or on TV or wherever you've heard about religion, God is for people, not against them. He's not against you. He's for you. There's nothing in this book that promotes anything that's evil or wrong. You realize that? It's all good. He wants you to be the best you can be. Joyful, peaceful, patient, kind, faithful, gentle, have self-control. Those are all good things. And that's what Jesus showed. You know who Jesus argued with while He was on this earth? Religious people. Read it. Have you been done? You know who I argue a lot with? Religious people. You say why? Because people forget about this is about God. This book is pointing to a being. It would be like me taking the love letters that my lovely wife wrote me while we were dating and going out on a tour the rest of my life and share these letters with people. And I never spend time or reflect with her. The only reason this is special is because it reflects the God who made us all. People come in all the time, they say, I notice you take your Bible everywhere you go. I said, yep, I do. You know why? Because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's not going to change. So I found Jesus Christ here, His death, look, and then His resurrection, that you count time by. Now, some of you say, well, I just don't know if I can believe this. Well, hang on. Because unless you come up with a better idea on being in the grave, you say, oh yeah, I'm going to eat right, and I'm going to work out. Well, guess what? You're going to die in shape. No matter what you do, we're going down. And a lot of people cannot get a grip on that. Now, if you would had a way to get here without being made, then I might listen to your argument. But I know one thing, we're all going to die. You don't have a plan B. And I'm telling you, there was a human on earth, God in the flesh, who came back from the dead, look, and got his body back. Now, as an unbeliever, when I first heard this at 14, guess what? I perked up. Because I said, you know what? I don't have a better idea on how I'm going to live forever. And you know what? I like living. There's a way to do this forever. It's going to be the same way He came back. That story, that's the gospel. That's the point of this Bible. The death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. For your mistakes and for your hope out of the ground to live again. That's what saves you. You don't save yourself. It was God's plan. You say, well, how would I know that? Because you look around and see the trees growing, and then you hear it from some bearded guy saying, hey, there's a heaven, there's a God, there's an evil one, there's a hell. Don't be stupid. There's a way off the planet alive. You know what that story does? It answers 3 questions. How did I get on the earth? God made me. What am I supposed to be doing here? To find God. God uses flawed people to share His message. I qualify. I'm not perfect. But God used me as perfect because the blood that He shared with His Son. And how am I getting off the planet? Well, the same way Jesus Christ got off Earth. He flew without a spaceship. And He didn't need a parachute. He just took off. Read Acts chapter 1. And He said, the same way you see me going, I'm going to come back. Are you kidding me? I'm going to fly. Give me a new body, I'm going to fly. That's called the gospel. The last thing I'm going to share with you, because that's the story that can change your life, is that's where I also saw God, is in changed lives. When Jesus is real to you, guess what? Things change. Because then you don't go to a building 3 times a week and call it church and think when you leave, God left. God doesn't live in buildings. He lives in human beings. We worship and serve God 24/7, 365. You say, well, what about our flaws? I just told you. We're honest. And God uses us to share His message. My dad was a terrible guy when I was a kid. And I saw him change. And later on, when I heard that gospel message, and I went back to him and I said, why did you change? He said, the same message you heard. I said, well, guess what? I'm changing too. And at 14, I made a decision to make Jesus Christ my Lord. Look, as fitting as it was since I was an outdoorsman, I asked my dad to baptize me in a Washita River. We had to wait for some guys to get your boat out of the water. It's kind of cool. They'd look around like, what in the world's going on here? And my dad tried to explain it to them, and they got scared. He said, why would you do that? Because Jesus in Matthew 28, He said, you go out to the world, He told His disciples this, He said, you preach the good news to all creation. The good news is that God loves you, He's for you, He died for you, He raised for you. Make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Romans chapter 6. reenact the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Look, I made the decision. I went out there and I was baptized. And I decided to do something that in this country is rare. I tried to make Jesus my Lord and live that life while I went through high school. There were people saying I was crazy, a Jesus freak, Bible thumper, giddy. So here's what they did. I said, y'all got a better idea? They kept driving me into a corner, They said, let's go get drunk, forget all this guy stuff, I remember one night at a football game, I took out $20 and I slammed it down. I said, you give me a better reason on what you're doing on the earth, how you got here, and how you're leaving, and I'll go buy whatever you want to buy. Guess what they did? They hung their head. You know why? Because it's scary. They didn't have a better way to beat the grave. I'm out catching bullfrogs at night, duck hunting in the day. I'm going to live forever. All my sins are forgiven. I've got a message, and you're going to ride me? I'm like, get out of my face, you idiot. You see my point? I decided through high school that I was going to trust God. I know the definition of a family according to this. It is a man and a woman with or without kids. You say that in our country, man. People say, oh, I don't know about that. Well, I know what he said about it. I said, I'm going to wait till I get married before I have sex for the first time. And I did. I didn't die. It didn't kill me. All my buddies said, well, how are you going to know what to do? I got 3 kids. I figured it out. There'd be no disease. There wouldn't be any fighting. What do you do? You say, well, that's not practical. Just because we don't live like that doesn't mean God isn't right. All right? You say, well, I done messed that up. Well, I done talked to you about the cross. All right? It's never too late to start over. I'm just trying to tell you that God's way is the right way. You see? I made a vow that I was not going to get drunk. Because I saw my dad get drunk every night when I was a kid, and he was mean and a bully. So when all my buddies said, all right, let's go, I said, not me. Not me. I didn't do it to this day. It's a pretty good streak I got going. I tell you this not to say, I've already told you I'm not perfect, I'm a flawed human being. I'm just telling you that God's way is better. Look, the whole reason we're here tonight, that's the whole reason we're here. If you have missed this, to me it's like us going duck hunting to a fantastic hunting hole. We're all going, and you're standing over on the bank. You say, where y'all going? I said, look, you can't miss this. All right? I don't want the skies to rush open and Jesus come back, and then you over there saying, well, wait a minute, what in the world happened? I didn't know what's going on. All right? I'm saying there is a way to live forever. If there's a way to duck hunt forever, this is the only shot you've got. And don't walk out of here saying, no, you know what? I think my hope is going to be in a coffin and just rot. That's what you're going with? Come up with something better than that. I like reincarnation better than that. That's terrible. Look at the facts. Look at this book. Look at the creation. Look at the genuine article. I don't represent any denominational group outside of God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. I have no motive. I gave you a duck call seminar for a fee. I gave you the way to live forever for free because I'm a believer. And I appreciate your kind attention. Thank you.